God, I'm tired, but here we are. The ring. It's August 13th, 2023. Oh my goodness. Kate, we basically had the last, 4 weeks off for one reason or another.
We did. And I mean, we can be honest, the real reason that we did was because we just wanted to review the Mrs. G1 run basically all in one shot. So it's something that you have to see in full, I feel like, to really appreciate, and I just didn't want to come on here and talk about it in a segmented way.
So. Absolutely. And he had a hell of a G1.
He did have a hell of a G1. It was awesome.
It was. He had a better G1 than Naito, who should have never won. It should have
been
the
semifinals. Yep.
Should have been Miz walking away with that January 4th contract. Very upset. Anyway.
Hi, Jolie.
Hi, Kate. How are you?
I'm so tired. I'm so tired of life, and also my favorite wrestler being an absolute dickhead, we'll say, since we were just talking G1. I'm just burned out, man. Burned out.
Yeah, I hear you. And you know what? So there's some funny stuff about you and I having been off for so long. This all started, Kate, when Dominic Mysterio won the North American Championship. And then suddenly,
I don't know what we're talking about.
And then suddenly you were unavailable for about 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's so weird how that lined up, and is in no way intentional. It actually is in no way intentional. It's just been a weird month, but yeah, we can do whatever you want to do, Joel. We can talk about the hot things of this week. We can review highlights from the past month. Whatever you want to do, Pumpkin Patch.
No, you know what people are here to see. They're here to see that thumbs up on the video. So go ahead and leave one right now and subscribe to us here at Fightful Overbooked, because we're marching towards our own goals and aspirations, okay?
It's not all Fightful main channel, okay? It's also Overbooked.
That's right.
Put some respect on our name.
We want the best for our channel, too.
Exactly.
Go ahead, subscribe to us here and tap that bell for notifications. Also, you can send us a super chat, any amount, get your question or statement around the air. We usually talk with the chat throughout. I just want to prove, Kate, that you and I had planned to do these shows week after week, but something continuously would come up. This was one thumbnail. And then this was the next one for SummerSlam that we didn't get to do. And then this was today's until literally an hour ago.
This is why CM Punk went off, was because he was like, I got bumped from the thumbnail spot on Fightful Overbooked, and I need to work my way back in. And we proved him right, so shame on us, to be honest.
He absolutely worked us. He did.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who are, listen, if you subscribe to Fightful Select, go check out the post. Go check out the reporting. We have a lot there. Last night at the end of AEW Collision, you had Punk kind of reading some signs that are in the crowd, and then he started making some comments about Hangman Adam Page. And, you know, I've seen a few people be like, oh, he was doing it in jest. It was all fun and games. But Kate, he keeps doing it. And he keeps doing it over and over again. And it's to the one person that he can take his frustration and anger out on, because everyone else has some sort of gag order agreement, no talking. And I'm tired, Kate. Like you are, I'm sure.
It's just so exhausting. Like, it's and he sent Ryan Nemeth home. I just the frustrating thing to me is he's one of my favorite wrestlers to watch, and Collision is my favorite American televised product right now. Like, I really like the presentation. I like the stage. I don't know if I mentioned that before. I like when main events get a half hour. Like, I like it when things have a lot of breathing room, and I like an in-ring focus. Like, I like all of that stuff. And it's so frustrating and annoying and exhausting when this stuff overshadows it. And in a vacuum, it's a pretty harmless spot, right? He was like, your action figure is not selling, but it's just it's if you're not headed toward the thing that everybody wants, which Hangman probably wouldn't have been a part of anyway, realistically, because it would be a trios match, it's just exhausting. And you know, like where there's smoke, there's fire, and Smokey the Bear would be chasing this down at this point with how much, like, I think people forget, like, he also had heat with Mox. He also had heat with, like, it's just, at some point, it gets exhausting rooting for the anti-hero, which is a reference that MJF would understand because he is a confirmed Swiftie.
Smokey the Bear, by the way, is currently winning titles in AAA. So
there you go.
Yeah. Shout out to QT Marshall. If you had an AEW star winning the Latin American Championship last night at Triple Mania over the other AEW star who had forfeited it, and over two other AEW stars, it was supposed to be an AEW 4-way, and then Brian Cage couldn't make it, so they brought back Tejano, and he didn't even win it. So QT Marshall won the Latin American Championship.
I can't think of anybody more representative of such a title.
As a Jew,
he should change it like Ospreay did.
He should.
He should.
Just put a menorah on it and just be like, it's now the Ladino. Oh my God, the Jews will understand anyway. Let's get a couple of super chats in. The doc sent us, I thought Joel's Madcap stuff was the worst thing WWE could possibly do. Then they gave Dominic Mysterio a belt. They out-Joeled Joel somehow. Hey, listen, feel how you feel. That Madcap stuff will never be the worst thing possible. It's always the best. And then CO sent us, oh my God, $6.90.
Nice. That's the nicest chat we could ever get. Unless you're going to pay us $69, which would be kind of egregious, but we would take it.
We will take your $69. CO said, I heard this is episode 169, which is true. That's really nice. So is this super chat. Love you both. Hope the crazy decreases. Well, we appreciate you. We love you too. Yeah, man, this is 169 episodes. Now, I think it's worth saying it's not 169 for Kate and I. This is 169 of the...
No, why you got to do that?
It's the call it in the ring thing.
Where is Tim? What good does it do to put him over? He went out on his back, on his way out, like you should have. And now I'm here, and you come in here and you bury me. Just rude. No, it's like my 20th episode, probably.
I was going to say, in fairness, Tim and I are supposed to go to SmackDown on Friday in Toronto, and then we're supposed to go to Greektown Wrestling the next night, where a CFL player is making his wrestling debut. So AJ Uyet, I don't watch CFL. I feel bad for people who do. So apparently he's going to be...
Buddy, I worked the football space, and I couldn't care less.
I don't think they care either, unless they're en route to something else. Shout out Roman Reigns. Shout out Rock. Shout out every wrestler who had a CFL career.
The CFL is like a money-losing thing, too. Like, the owner of it just loves it, so keeps it going live.
It's like NWA.
Yeah, but less Tyrus, so better.
True. Some of those guys are in better shape than most of them actually are in better shape than Tyrus. Yeah. That's true. A couple more super chats here from Arduet. Sending super chat because I support women.
You get it. Thank you, Arduet.
So tired of the punk drama. Makes me miss pre-punk AEW. Okay, so I get this and I understand this and I fully agree with it because, like you said at the top of the show, Collision is so much fun to watch. It is an easy 2-hour show. Yeah, the stage is pretty nice. I hear that it's actually someone's favorite stage.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I get it.
It's a great stage.
It's a great stage. So one thing that really frustrates me is that week after week we say this is such a good show. Oh my God, the time flies by. It's such an easy watch. We don't even have to watch it live, but we choose to because it's a Saturday night and we're a bunch of dorks. But then stuff like this happens and immediately we're like, what are we doing? Like, what, especially 2 weeks going into All In, where it's like, you have this show. And again, and WrestleTix just put out a tweet. They crossed the 80,000 ticket line. And this shit's going on. No one's going to pay attention to 80,000 tickets sold. They're going to pay more attention to what happened after Collision went off the air, which is even more frustrating to handle.
Yeah, it's like... This would be all well and good if we got to the Elite versus CMFTR, but that's not even going to include Hangman, right? So unless he's just some like errand boy and it was scripted, that I guess is good, but it doesn't sound like it's scripted and he keeps doing this. And it's also like, it's kind of funny. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I also feel like too much of Collision, and I love CM Punk on the screen. like there's too many stories that are revolving around him right now, because it feels like in some of them he's a face and some of them he's a heel, and that doesn't like work. Like I like the I'm okay with the time being cannibalized if everything is cohesive, but it's not. Like the I spray painted the belt thing feels very heelish. The I'm bringing back the straight edge X thing is an allusion to him being a heel. Against Joe, he's a face. Against Stark, he's a face. Like it's just all over the place for me. And so and all that said, I love it. Like I love Collision for the most part. But like the fact that they babied him like with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, I'm like, he should be heel anyway. Tweener you can get away with, I feel like. But then whenever he does shit like this, it's just like you can also I don't want to watch a babyface CM Punk because one, I just think he's a better heel. Even when everything's perfect in CM Punk world, that guy is a great bad guy, a pretty good guy, but a great bad guy. And two, like now all the shit always like takes you out of it, whether you want to be or not. So it's just it's so exhausting, and it takes away from like how made Ricky Starks is right now, like how absurd it is that the Gun Club stuff is working as well as it is, like all of these things, right? So it overshadowing things is annoying enough. It overshadowing things going into Wembley is like, that's a bummer. That's a real bummer. And it's there either has to be he either needs to retire, he needs to get released, or there needs to be some sort of consequences for his actions, because like this just keeps happening. And it's if I'm burned out on it, and this is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, I'm assuming the average person is even more burned out on it. So it just is it gets old, Jolie.
I do wonder, for those who don't follow wrestling the way that we do, or are in the space like we are, I wonder how the quote-unquote casual fan watches Collision and Dynamite. I wonder if they think about the fact that Punk's on one show, the Elite are on another. Like some people are kind of aware of it, but just kind of don't actively think about it. When stuff like this comes out, they're probably not going to see it. They're probably not going to have a reaction to it. For people like us who cover it and talk about it, and it's our job to sit here and discuss it, it is actively frustrating. And it's not because of us being fans of anybody or us, wanting to see the success of wrestling and all that. It's just, it becomes 2 steps forward or 4 steps back.
Yeah.
We're all sitting here waiting for an amazing Wembley All-In show, and it's not perfect. There are certain things that are like, we'll talk a little bit about All-In, but I'll tell you now, like, I don't love the idea of the main event also doing the 0 hour. I also don't know if they're actually going to go through with it. We'll see. But like, I don't love that booking. That being said, now I have another gripe to have to deal with, and that is what's going on off camera. And yeah, listen, they kept Punk and the Elite on separate sides of Scotiabank Arena when they did Forbidden Door. Yes, Wembley is a larger venue, but eventually they're not going to have that luxury. They're not going to be able to just separate and be cool. And it feels like if you keep poking the bear, eventually one of the bears is going to bite again.
Also, grow the fuck up. Sorry.
Yes.
Like, this is the most childish, stupid shit ever. It is literally the stuff my parents would do when me and my sister couldn't get along. You are grown adults. Like, get it together. Get it together. I'm sorry. Like, it's just, also don't get it together, because Fightful Select subscriptions always go way up when CM Punk melts off. So I I like the job security, but it's just, they were on separate side of the arenas. Come on, like, and I'm a big don't judge what you didn't see person, but there are things that we did see, and there are patterns of behavior, right? And it's just if you come back and the first thing you said is that you're sorry to Tony Khan that you put him in this position, and now you're putting him in this position 2 weeks before Wembley Stadium. Dickhead.
Yeah, you cannot do that. And I don't know if it comes out that Punk's like, I didn't want to work with with Samoa Joe again. I wanted a bigger match, and that's the reason why he caused this shit. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but I'd be very upset. Cyclops better than Logan.
No, I feel like that's.
I know.
This has been too much of a story for too long of this. Like it makes too much sense.
Yeah, I know, and I agree. It feels like this match was always kind of the plan once they started putting together what all in and all out were going to look like. Cyclops and Logan gave us a few bits over on twitch.tv/Fightful Gaming. I swear we still use that channel. You can go ahead and subscribe there too. It says, I'm honestly surprised Punk went this long without pulling a Punk move. He just can't help himself, LOL. I mean, listen, that's a good point. They gave him a show. He continues to be on that show. It is his show. He actively solicits advice from only the people who were also on that show with him. He wants his own little universe, and he gets it. And in some cases, it's great. And in some cases, it's absolutely frustrating. On and off screen. Because Kate, like we talked about, he's not a heel. He's not a babyface. You can argue shades of gray. But if you're going to carry around a real world's championship, and suddenly it's being talked about like it's a legitimate championship by management, that's an acknowledgement of falsehood. Like that's something that kind of these are little holes that I'm just like, why isn't Tony Khan being like, he's not the real world's champion. He is not the champion. MJF is our champion. I don't know why stuff like that continues to go on with Collision. It's strange to me.
This is kind of like how Forbidden Door feels like a disruptor every year and then ends up being really great. I feel like having All In and All Out back to back like this probably hampers some of your launching storylines that we have in Collision World, because to me that feels like there's a really obvious play of Punk losing it to Kenny and Kenny losing it to Max at a unification match, or you do Punk MJF again. And you do a unification match that way, and you can cut out the middleman in that regard. But like, that's a cool legacy for Kenny, is like he held both belts. I think could be like a fun way to go about it. But I just, it's how fragmented it is. Like that's all extremely heelish. Like the spray painting of it, like it's Hulk Hogan 101, but then he's the legend respect guy against Ricky Starks. Like you can't be both guys, I feel like. So I don't know. I like when people are involved in multiple angles all the time. I feel like I didn't watch the Attitude Era, but that's something that a lot of people, including Ryan, who I do Mark Order with, he was one of the first to point it out, of like, that's one thing that made AEW feel really different than WWE as an alternative, of like, everybody's got problems with everybody all the time. Apparently it trickled over backstage. That's how sound the creative is. But I think there's a piece of it there that, like, you have to, it has to be aligned. Like, even tweener you can get away with, but like, how dare you do that to Ricky Steamboat, from the same guy who was spray painting the title the week before? Like, that doesn't work for me creatively. And there's also, I mentioned this before, it's been so long since we did the show, I can't remember if it was here or elsewhere, but there's an inherent issue, I think, where even people who like Punk understand that he works better as a heel. And so there's people who are ready to boo Punk just because anytime he's shown an inflection of it, they're like, there's the heel turn I've been waiting for. There's the heel turn I've been waiting for since before he got injured. I wanted him to turn heel on the match with Paige. So I don't know. It's, from a human being standpoint, it is really distracting. And I think even if you're like a casual, there's things to not like love about it. And then on the other piece of it is, it's just like, it makes me not want to watch it. Like, the initial backstage drama makes you want to watch it if we're going to get that match, right? Like, that's going to be the most money-making match in history. But now it's just like, oh my God, this, like, how, because it feels complaining. It's like, what are you whining about? A crowd sign? Like,
oh,
a crowd sign.
I want to bring this up because there are people in chat being like, stop overreacting. People are focused on the drama. People, he's having fun with the crowd. This is inherently the issue. Like we said a few minutes ago, if CM Punk is continuing to take shots at one guy, and the one guy that he keeps taking shots at is one guy who has continually ignored everything, and he is associated with the only people that Punk has been legally told not to engage with, it's that part. That part's the loudest part of the disrespect, to borrow a phrase from the guy saying it. He's going after the closest available confidant to the people he's not supposed to be going after. That's where it's petty, and that's where it's annoying, and that is where the drama continues to happen. And you got Music and Moonsault saying, if CM Punk is upset over the softest man alive tweet, he's not doing much to disprove that notion. And that is where we get to the Ryan Nemeth stuff. Now, Fightful Select had reported that Ryan Nemeth was brought in for this week's AEW Collision, and then a coach came to him and said, oh, never mind, you're not needed anymore. We booked you a ticket, you're going home. Does CM Punk have something to do with it? No, that's not officially the reason why Ryan went home. Now, have they had words in the past, Ryan Nemeth and CM Punk? Yes, they have. And according to Fightful Select, nothing ever came to blows. They did talk. It was maybe a little heated, but no one ever fought anybody. But Ryan was still sent home, and there's still this feeling that with the Hangman stuff, and we'll talk about the other side of the Hangman conversation of him physically being or not being in Greensboro for a Collision. Just talk to me what you're feeling, because you cover Ring of Honor, and the Workhorsemen were a big part of Dark and Ring of Honor, and part of the conversation when you started doing even Mark Order Pod.
The Workhorsemen, but not the Wingmen.
Sorry, you're right. The Wingmen. Thank you for.
Well, everybody that knows me knows that I'm in love with Peter Avalon, so there's that piece of it. But more importantly, like, it's just at some point the dots connect, right? Like, it's possible that there could just be that many dots, but at some point it's way more likely that they connect with all this stuff. And there's nothing saying it directly came from Punk, but there's a lot of things saying that, like, it's his show. So that certainly feels like a piece of it. And it's also, there's been rumors of other people being sent home, not confirmed, but like there seems to be a reoccurring thing with that. Now, the communication at AEW is not something anyone's been like, it's extremely clear and communicative, and I really like it. So there's that piece of it. But like, I get that, like, making a peg warmer joke after a show is pretty benign in itself, but at some point, like, you've temporarily forfeited the right within 3 weeks of coming back, or 3 months of coming back, to be able to make those shots, unless you're now heading toward the feud that everybody's asking for, right? Like, if you're leading toward it, you should be making those shots, because then dorks like us are going to get on the internet and be like, this guy's an asshole, blah, 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 and then it's going to pay off. If it's void of that, you just don't get to do that right now because of what you actually did. So, and when what you're doing overpowers everything else, it then becomes disrespectful to them. Like, it becomes disrespectful to Starks, and it becomes disrespectful to Hobbs, who's finally in this program with Miro, and the women who are kicking ass in that tag match and things like that. Like, you are now not only egocentrically a part of the show, not only egocentrically have your own brand, but now you've overpowered the fact that, like, everybody else is trying to do their best to get this brand off the ground too. That's rough. That's rough.
I like that last part you said, where he is actively trying to be, not just the face of the brand, but run the brand and also make the brand bigger than the Wednesday night brand. But if he keeps getting in the way of building that brand, then that brand is not going to build itself. And he is actively and acutely aware that the cameras are always rolling, especially if you're given a live microphone. Nothing is ever just to the crowd in the cell phone era. It's just
no, and he's aware of that. I don't think I don't think he did that and thought that's not going to be a big deal. But it also becomes hypothetically, let's just say he was having fun. Let's buy into that. If you ever actually do get to the feud that everybody wants to see, nobody's going to believe you or care, because it's like you have been doing this the whole time. So like at some point it's going to wear out where people don't realize that you're building to anything. Like it's just going to feel like, oh, he's continuing to make shots again. I don't know. I feel like brands should be competing in a friendly way, like even within the same company. Like you should be trying to outdo each other, because it's best for everyone when you do. And I like Collision a lot. Like it's the more, out of all of the American presented products right now, save Ring of Honor is like on its way back up, which makes me very happy. It's the most tailored to the presentation that I like the most about wrestling. It feels more like an alternative to anything else that's on TV right now. It just features some of my favorite talent, realistically, like big Starks gal, big Miro gal, big Jay White gal. So it is just annoying. It's really annoying. Like it really is just like so annoying, because he's also a great fucking wrestler. Like that's the other problem, is like that trios match was a blast, and him and Joe was so awesome, and he looks better physically than he did the first time around, for sure. Like he's way more present with his motion, it feels like, and he's taking harder hits, and so it just feels like every time he does this, he undercuts everything else that is good about it, and that's a bummer.
So I'm gonna hit up. We're gonna do a few more super chats because we're getting a bunch. And thank you, by the way. We're going to address all of them. Cyclops Better than Logan hit us with some bits over on twitch.tv/Fightful Gaming, and saying CM Punk saying, "I'm trying to run an effing business here." Really starting to make sense now with Punk running Collision. LOL. So okay, TK Tony Khan did talk about this particular comment that was made during the infamous All Out press conference. He called it a colloquialism. And the way that I saw it was Punk was never an employee of AEW officially. He was always a wrestler in the company, but he was always running the CM Punk business. And the CM Punk business is currently attached to AEW. So his whole, like, I'm trying to run an effing business here, to me, the comment always read as my business, myself. I'm trying to run my brand with this company. And that's how I always read it. I don't know if you feel differently.
Yeah, I think that part of what's so maddening with the guy is that I think he's really good at his job, and I think he does take a tremendous amount of pride in his work, and I think that's something that is good. And because he's kind of the guy that really did move the needle from where they started, like I feel like it was speaking more to that, of him realizing he's a difference maker and feeling like that there were obstacles in the way of it. And I have a lot of I can see where CM Punk is coming from on a lot of what he said with things. I just always disagree with the way he goes about it. But like, I can understand getting WWE heebie-jeebies when you're going back out there and you're technically not fully cleared, and it's like a we owe you one situation. I can understand like like a lot of the things that he had complaints about, I can understand the viewpoint of. So when he speaks in terms like that, it's now spilled over to this. So he kind of worked himself into this shoot about it. Like he's got the Saturday Night Wrestling brand. Like, all right. So
going to 605 is what we're doing.
That's right.
Give him that 605. Let's get some super chats in. Chris says, to me, stuff with Punk is why Tony Khan needs to pick a side. Also got to admit, Dominic Mysterio is a draw.
I mean, Rey Mysterio also showed up at NXT. That's something that people love to keep throwing out the window, but
no. That's
it's all dumb.
Unimportant. It's all Dominic Mysterio. It's all Rhea Ripley, who has the most TikTok followers, has nothing to do with
any of it. Nobody wants to look at that woman. He doesn't need to pick a side. He needs to give people consequences for their actions, in my opinion. Because there never is. There just never is.
And also,
treat everyone fairly, not the same. That's an important thing.
And that's exactly. It's about setting a precedent that the certain things that you do is not okay. we're going to get to a super chat about Collision and Dynamite tapings happening together. But, Kenny Omega and the Bucks and Hangman Page, after they announced the signing before Dynamite 200, got on the mic live on TV and said, we're going to be on all the shows. We're going to be on Dynamite, on Rampage, on Collision. And, Ronald sent a super chat saying, live Dynamite and Collision taping from Georgia next week is going to be interesting before All Out and All In. Here's the thing about that. That Collision taping, can almost guarantee you right now, Punk will probably not be there and the Elite probably will. And that's what they're talking about.
It's frustrating that this reportedly isn't storyline, because going into the pay-per-view where all this happened is like a fun way to turn that into storyline. You know what I mean? Like, it would be nice if they had cleared those issues heading into the pay-per-view where all that shit went down. There'd be a really fun, if egos weren't a thing, they could have a lot of fun with it. The other thing is, at some point you got to do the math of how many other people have we heard have like legitimate vitriol toward Hangman Page, toward the Bucks, towards Kenny. Like, I haven't heard of a single person that had I think everybody has gripes. There's a lot of people that don't feel like they should be EVPs and active wrestlers, and I believe that just as a blanket rule across the board. You shouldn't have EVPs that are actively involved in storylines. That just reads as a bad choice to me, but they made that choice. I haven't heard of anybody else having a full legitimate gripe with any of those people. And boy, howdy, have there been a lot of people that have issues with CM Punk. So if you had to quote unquote choose a side, where's the lie, Joel? I guess is what we're really saying here.
No, that guy has a problem with him too.
That guy, he's kind of the only one that I'm like, all right, I think Punk's got this one. I think that
how dare you?
That Bobby Fish might have some of the issue to share in that.
Their MMA fight is going to be one for the ages in 15 years when Bobby Fish turns a ripe 300.
I've collected my pension and I'm here to fight. My God.
I'm Bobby Fish and I love to fight. The same. Me and Norma sent us a super chat saying, sup partners, still dancing because my Orioles are in first. My Nats came back from 5 down in the 9th to win, and Dan Snyder is out. Also, all the wrestling. Well, Meet Normus, absolutely. I hate that the Orioles are in first because my Jays are in third. I say my Jays as if I follow them. But I checked the standings.
Yeah, you don't care.
They lost today, and then Punk's all happy because they got beat by the Cubs. So that's all I got to say about that. We do appreciate your money, though.
My Yankees suck anyway. But to your point, all the wrestling, this is what I hate, is we have this after a week of wrestling where wrestling was number one Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and 50,000 people watched the G1 finals, most of whom were watching it somewhere between 2 and 5 a.m. It was a great week for wrestling. And now we're talking about this shit. That sucks.
It goes to show the power, but it also goes to show the frustration that comes with it. It's that, if I had done the Jey Uso leaving WWE thumbnail, would we have as many people in this chat having these conversations with us? And
I can't complain about. CM Punk makes us a lot of money here at Fightful.
Yeah, exactly. That's good news about that. It's so frustrating that, like you said, there was so much good stuff this week in wrestling, and here we are. We can't even talk about the Miz's G1 final.
Yeah, we can't even talk about the thing that we've been building toward on this program for months now. And the other thing is, as someone who's frequently complaining about women's wrestling, main event Wednesday, main event Friday, SmackDown on Friday kicking off with the women. Great women's wrestling 2 weeks in a row on Collision. Great women's wrestling happening on ROH, where we're starting to build some stories for Athena and add a dimension to her. I'm assuming great women's wrestling on Impact, because even though I can't watch it live because I'm reviewing ROH, the knockouts are always fucking killing it. We got the Fatal 4-Way announced for Multiverse. There's so much great wrestling happening right now. And by the way, I know we were talking about The Miz and his G1, but overall, just a home run of a G1, I feel like, with a lot of what got set up, a lot of breakout performances, a lot of stories coming out of it, other than Evil. I think a lot of people liked what was going on. And most importantly, probably 80,000 tickets for Wembley. Good. Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Hardy in a Texas death match. That's the big news. Okay. I mean, if there was anything that was made for Kate, it's Jeff Hardy and Jeff Jarrett at this stage of their career in a Texas death match.
Yeah, no, I can't see anything wrong going with that.
No, how could it?
What the 4-way that you were talking about for Multiverse? Are you talking about the women or what? Because I don't think Momo's not officially in it yet. I don't think.
I thought I saw something with Julia 4-way.
That's probably not something you want to Google right now.
Just type Julia 4 and see what happens.
I know for sure they're doing Julia, Deanna, and Giselle, which I love, by the way, because if there's one thing Giselle Shaw loves to do, it's insert herself in every Deanna Purrazzo segment imaginable.
That's pretty great.
She just shows.
I thought they'd announced. And she's here. Maybe it's not. I thought I had seen that announced, but
they might add Momo, but for now she was like, "Hey, I don't have a match yet, and I just saw the 3-way, so watch your back."
Got it.
I would do a 4-way.
Momo was like, no.
Nice. Jake Neal such a super chat saying CM Punk is now being 90s HBK. Huge draw, huge ego. Honestly, it's not a bad pull, but unfortunately, or fortunately, Punk and HBK are very different in that there are no drugs involved.
Yeah, but Punk also hasn't found Jesus, so it's a toss-up.
There's still time.
Maybe Punk just needs to find Jesus.
Y'all can find Jesus if you just leave a thumbs up. I'm a Jew. I can't do that line. It just doesn't work for me.
Leave a thumbs up to help CM Punk find Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely. And then sent a follow-up super chat saying, is it also worth mentioning the dumb comment about Punk being mad about Hasselblack chopping him? I think that was in jest. I think that was a joke. But then he did the whole Hangman stuff, and it was like, what are we doing here? That I don't know how you felt about that part.
Yeah. It's there's admirable pieces to it, and then there's really bad pieces to it. I'll put it that way. Like I think I don't know. I think there's something admirable about not suspending people and trying to treat them like adults. And there's also an issue when they still won't act like them.
Honestly, it's a pretty good way to put it.
Like, I feel like, I don't know, Max had his issue and they didn't suspend him. And I still don't think that's the right move. I think there should be consequences for your actions always. But like, doesn't seem like anyone's had a problem ever working with him. Like in a concrete way. I know like Dax's podcast, whatever, like he didn't want to do, my God, what was the name of that stable? What was the name of that stable?
Pinnacle?
The Pinnacle, thank you.
One back, yes.
There you go. I think, I mean, like, oh my God, a wrestler not happy with their creative? No way. Like, he still went out there and he killed it in the Pinnacle, honestly. It fell apart weird. But like, basically he showed up. He did more though, kind of dirty, but showed up, went away for a while, and then came back with a lot more money and won the title, right? Like, I don't think that's a good precedent to set, but it sounds like nobody has a direct issue working with Max that we've heard, right? When there's a physical altercation, this is where I get pissed off. Like, just because it's wrestling, it doesn't mean you get to assault your coworkers. And like, doesn't mean you get to treat them like shit. Like, it's still your fucking job. Grow up. Like, and I know people are like, oh, it happens in real sports all the time. I don't care. Like, grow up. You don't get to do you know how many annoying coworkers I've had in my lifetime? Like, you don't get to punch them in the head because of that. And I also don't get to go degrade an entire company in my company meeting every Monday. And certainly not publicly. because I'm in a bad mood. Like there needs to be consequences for your actions, because then otherwise it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows.
So I will add this though. You had the Andrade situation, and you had the Sammy situation, and you had was it Eddie? Did Eddie have an issue with somebody? Eddie probably.
Yeah, that was like him and Sammy had like a very that I actually really liked, because well, first I felt bad because everybody was just like, Sammy sucks, fuck that guy. And Eddie Kingston flat out came out and was like, it was my fault. It was on me. I did it. I was the one that was wrong. But everybody was like, no, we just love Eddie Kingston. And I was like, I get it. And I think he had like a 2-week suspension or something small. But like,
but here's the thing. But that's the precedent that should be set. Is that if you're going to throw hands or threaten to throw hands, you're not coming to work. And it's just, you can't just be like, oh no, this guy makes us a lot of money. We can't do that to him. He has to come to work this week.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people are like, oh, it's wrestling. And to me, I almost go the other way of, yeah, it's wrestling, which means that you have to be able to trust your opponent with your life, literally, which is a lot different than me needing someone to send a fucking email. So I feel like it should be more stringent the other way. That's probably unrealistic, but like this idea of like, oh, it's wrestling is kind of like this boys will be boy shit. And I just like, I'm not here for that, because you have to be able to trust the person with your life when you're in the ring with them. And I feel like everybody kind of underestimates that. It's just a very odd thing that we make excuses for, because it's just like you don't get to assault your coworkers.
No, you don't. And ours is saying, CM Punk, you could go like.
Hey, there's a lot of people that do, honestly.
It's a very fair point. And Doc saying the only good thing about Dominic Mysterio is Rhea Ripley. Listen.
That's not what the chat says. Pull that back up.
No, I can't. I'm sorry. It's gone. It disappeared. It was a $2 one. If you'd sent more, it would have been on my screen for longer. I'm sorry.
I don't believe that's how that works.
Anyway, so Chris also sent a super chat saying it's very frustrating that Tony Khan runs AEW like the Wild West. I'm not going to speak for Tony. I'm not going to assume that I know how Tony runs his ship. And then someone's going to jump on me like, proceeds to make an assumption. It feels to me, given the circumstances we've been through and talked through, Tony isn't very fond of confrontation. And I say that as someone who is also not very fond of confrontation.
Well, fucking fight me.
No.
This is how I know you're not fond of confrontation. Where's the Fightful Championship, and why haven't you defended it?
Because Jimmy has it in his house and he won't give it to me.
Kayfabe, bro. Come on.
I still have to do a Q&A with Jimmy, or else I will lose my title. But the point being is that you need to have one person who runs that show and is not afraid of the confrontation. And again, I'm not saying whether or not Tony Khan is that person, but by all conversations and just all stories, it consistently feels like he is not one to be confrontational.
I think you should probably bring in Ryback for that role.
Get my chips out.
I think I just made you make a sound that I've never heard before come out of a human being. I'm really proud of myself.
Yeah, you should be. That was disgusting, is what it was.
I don't know why you seem to make that disapproval noise. I think it's a great idea because he's real big and people will be intimidated. And I think he has shown us nothing but class and self-control. So.
And he eats chips while he's on Zoom. Punk.
You're right, and that there seems to certainly be a lack of control of the locker room, which is kind of insane when you think about like the amount of legends that are there. Like that like when we're under way worse days, you know what I mean?
Think about who's back there. Who is going to be the one to separates and control, because all of the legends who are there, even the big stars who have the experience in those locker rooms are on the TV. You can say Chris Jericho is a locker room leader all he wants, but Chris Jericho still has to look out for Chris Jericho because Chris Jericho is still on TV every single week. So he's not focused on, sorry, my Jew brain is on Shalom Bite in the locker room. He's not focused on everyone getting along and having a good time in the locker room. Neither is Mox, even though, he's part of that producer role and training role. There are no coaches back there who seem to be wanting to be the keep the peace coach.
I think again, Ryan and Mark Order brought this up too, and I unfortunately I don't think he's well, but like JR has decades of experience with this shit. And
I'm just gonna say it, JR was a fucking bully in WWE.
Yeah.
There are countless stories.
Bring back bullying. Bring back shaming people for acting like fucking idiots. Bring back bullying.
Give him a bag of puppies and a hammer, and JR's in heaven.
That's it. Bring it back. Grow up. Until these guys grow up, stick JR on them.
No.
I think, well, JR a bully, sure. Was he probably working proportionately to the shit he was dealing with? Yeah. I mean, back when men were men, right?
Woof.
But I don't think he can do that like at this stage of the game either. But it is like he's someone that has decades of experience with artist relations, artist relations, whatever you want to call it, talent relations specifically. Like that's why I brought him up, was he had decades of experience in it. Because I'll tell you what, I don't think WWE is 100% simpatico every time, but we sure hear about it a lot less. So find the missing piece, right? Find the missing piece. I think it's wildly unrealistic to pretend that that's the case.
I will add this to your point. And I've mentioned this a few times, and I think you and I have even talked about this maybe offline. Aubrey Edwards saying on a podcast, on an AEW podcast, that one of the best things about AEW is how many hats everybody wears. Well, unfortunately, not everyone can wear the talent relations hats, and not everyone can wear the keep the peace hats. You need those people in the locker room. You need the PR people in the locker room. You need the people who know how to speak to the right people to keep certain conversations from getting out, and certain stories from getting out, and certain people from talking to certain people about silly, stupid shit. And yeah, you're right. In WWE, it doesn't happen as much because there are layers upon layers upon layers of people through which these stories are either told or shut down. And I'm not saying AEW has to be this giant corporate conglomerate, but I am saying they need some strategic hires that will help focus that locker room.
I don't know if it, to be 100% honest, like, well, one, I'm a big believer in hiring outside of the world of wrestling for things that are not wrestling related. I'm a big believer in bringing someone administrative to do administrative work who doesn't give a fuck that it's wrestling. The other thing I'll say is I don't know if it's strategic hirings as much as it's a strategic firing. Sorry. There's one guy, and he's one of my favorite wrestlers ever. Do you think Sammy Guevara and Eddie Kingston having a scuffle is a big fucking deal if we haven't already heard about Brawl Out? No. Do you think anybody gives a shit that Sammy Guevara and Andrade had dumb tweets at each other? No, except Ricky Starks, who hilariously will tweet at them to shut the fuck up. Because there was a full-blown physical altercation and one guy who stirs the pot continually, like, it kind of feels like it sucks because his wrestling is some of my favorite wrestling ever. He shouldn't be there. Like, if you win a title and the first thing you do after winning that title is go in on a 20-minute, 30-minute, whatever presser about how shitty the company is, sorry, you're fired. Sorry. If I get promoted at work and they give me an award and talk about how I was employee of the quarter, and the first thing I do is turn around and publicly bash that company, fuck me, I'm fired. Like it's just, man, it sucks, but like I don't think any of those other little things feel like a big deal at all if the big thing didn't keep showing up over and over and over again.
Ardo sent us a super chat saying, I'm not old enough to genuinely know, but does this kind of feel like WCW drama? Like petty stuff driving down a great company? Okay, I'm trying to think back to my 90s WCW. I'm trying to think back to my late 90s WCW. There was a lot of politicking going on that was keeping talent down, but there wasn't as much outward on the show complaining until Russo and Bischoff wanted to make that like an ongoing thing for the shows for the Heat brother. That's where my brain kind of is. But WCW, it was like people just kind of sucked at not keeping the younger talent from rising up.
I think I'm not the person to ask, but a lot of other people that I know that did watch WCW have made that comparison. And I've kind of heard the counter argument of that of like, well, it's not like WWF was like all hunky dory at the time, but it didn't ever feel like Vince McMahon's a piece of shit, but did it ever feel like he lost control of the locker room or the company? No, because everybody's walking on eggshells because it's too far the other way, right? Like with WCW, it sounds like those backstage issues, because every locker room's got issues, like they lost control of the locker room. So that's where I think the comparison sounds more apt, but I really didn't. I didn't watch WCW. I started watching in 2009, so.
You got to go back and watch that old WCW, I'm telling you. Especially that 96 through 98. Honestly,
I have watched some WCW, but like real-time locker room issues 20 years later don't like hit the same.
Yes, you're right. Back when locker room issues were men. I still go back and watch like WCW late 99, 2000, and into 2001. I still watch those shows because I have a soft spot from watching them live back in the day, because I was much more of a WCW fan than I was a WWF fan at the time. I obviously changed over once the purchase happened and everything went south, but like I had a soft spot in my heart for WCW. And then I learned everything about WCW and I was just like, oh yeah, no. Someone said in the chat, you can't trace the fall of WCW to one man. And it's true. There are multiple people, both in the ring and out, that created the end of WCW. Hell, there's a great book by Artie Reynolds who did a whole thing about Nitro and the end of it, and then what killed WCW.
Nitro is a great book.
It is a great book.
They paid Hulk Hogan so much money to not be good at anything.
Well, they paid him for his likeness, brother. Happy 70th birthday, you racist prick. Wilkism said this nice super chat. As a fan of all types of wrestling in general, it's sad that All In feels second or third place when it comes to the drama last night and the drama with the women. Please grow up. It's not high school. P.S. I love you guys. Well, we love you too. Now, I will tell you this. As we get closer to All In, people will definitely feel a different way. Tonight's conversation and probably through the next 3 days will come and go. We do these conversations because, like Kate said, it is a driver of conversation. It is a driver of Fightful Select subscriptions.
The Sean reported it 2 hours ago or whatever, right? Like it's also hot off the press. So, but
with all that in mind, the drama with the women has effectively, it's come and gone in its own way. I don't want to talk about the Lufisto stuff. It's gone. It's gone, and I'm done.
If we're not talking about the Lufisto stuff, we're not talking about Dominic either. That's the bargain.
That's fine. You know what? That's fine. I'm okay with that because I have a lot of feelings on the Lufisto stuff. I've been keeping it offline for many reasons, and I'm also,
you love yourself.
Well, I'm also not talking about it on In the Weeds either. And Jeremy and we had a long conversation offline about whether or not we wanted to broach the conversation, broach topic, and we both kind of said
you did do that, Joel.
We did do that, but we didn't talk.
You did, Joel.
I did.
Yeah, Joel.
No, we got such a mix of reactions to that whole bit. One guy was so angry that he's like, "I will never subscribe to Fightful because of shit like this," and I just replied, "Cry."
Because Jeremy kept saying Joel's name, Joel. That's so weird.
Let's not bring that back. But we did, but we also did have one person who does watch our show, almost, watches every show, and was like, "Yeah, I couldn't do this. I'm sorry. I'll see you guys on Monday." Like, I get it. I'm never gonna fault those people because it was a weird bit. Even sorry, I was about to say Tim. Even Jeremy was like, I like Tim better than Jeremy.
Well, yeah.
Jeremy was like, "Yeah, I did not plan that. It just kind of happened, and then I realized I had to keep it up." He single-handedly ruined an entire night.
Look, if there's anything Jeremy's gonna do, it's commit to the bit.
Yep.
God bless that man.
God bless.
I loved it. I was in stitches.
It was fun.
Cheers,
it was
Maya.
weird. He got it through the whole 2 hours. I mean, I give him that. The Please Grow Up, It's Not High School. Unfortunately, it's wrestling. And unfortunately, a lot of wrestlers still have a high school mentality because it's just the way it goes with them. I don't like it, but it's true.
I do agree that like wrestling moves so fast. I think this wouldn't even be as big of a story if it wasn't on a Sunday, to be honest. Like, if this happened, if this report got confirmed on Friday, I feel like this would be not even as big of a deal because the Jey stuff and like Saturday had Collision and all these things, but Sunday's a quiet day anyway, so it's also just like the only thing that's out there. Granted, anytime CM Punk does anything, the world is shaken. But I think by All Out, we're going to be in a much better spot. I think it's going to be impossible to escape how cool that's going to be. Like, I don't know if there's a way to overstate what it's going to be like to have 80,000 wrestling fans that have never gotten to see this product live, see it live. And to do so in I'm not counting the WCW North Korea shit as the biggest crowds of all time. That was rigged. But it's going to be the biggest wrestling crowd. It's the biggest wrestling crowd of all time as far as I'm concerned, and that's just special. And like I said, it was such a healthy week for wrestling before this. And so I think this goes away. It's also like not a slight at Ryan Nemeth. He didn't take Kenny Omega home, right? And not that anything should be taken super lightly, but like it was a comment about being a peg warmer and your action figure not selling. Like, these are not, it's just compounded on top of everything else. But like in a vacuum, this is not like the biggest deal in the world.
No, but we didn't get into what was actually the bigger conversation here. And while Fightful Select, while we haven't confirmed it, Dave Meltzer did report that a lot of this started with Hangman being asked to come and cut a promo or do a pre-tape in Greensboro at the site of the Collision tapings, and then was kind of said, "No, you can't come to the building. You got to do it away from the building." And that just kind of ruffled some feathers as well. Again, Fightful Select, like Fightful, we haven't confirmed it, but it is out there from Dave, and Dave is he's a pretty reputable source in this sphere, and I'm sure more information will come out. But knowing that, and then knowing that Punk goes out and says those things after Collision, that's where the ire of a lot of fans kind of came up, and I don't like that. I don't understand why they could, if it's true that Hangman had to come out and drive all the way to the venue or fly all the way, whatever it was, get to the venue and then be told, LOL, can't do it here, 100-foot restraining order that's not in existence, but like, you can't do it here because they just don't you're not welcome here. That's obnoxious. That's just bad communication. And I'd be upset if I was a talent spending all my time coming to the venue to be told, oh, no, we can't do it at the venue.
Yeah, that's also just like now you're actively going out of your way to harm your product. Like, there's no, what, he's going to do it on some grassy knoll in Carolina? Come on.
Well. No, it's
like, now you're making your show worse because you don't want to hang out with someone. Like, grow up.
Again, they separated both crews in Toronto at the Scotiabank
They
Arena.
got put into the naughty corner.
That's right. We knew where the food was, and it was an essential area that was separated. I'm sure the Elite got their own catering, and Punk was able to roam free, and the Elite were just their own caged animals, right? That's how it went.
Joel, I figured out who they need to bring in.
Wardlow?
They need to bring in the super nanny. You act like 7-year-olds? Joe's coming in. I think her name was Joe.
It was Joe. She was one of them. The other one I would bring in is
the naughty corner.
I'd bring in the dog whisperer. Cesar Romero? No, that was the Joker. Cesar Chavez? No, that was the dictator. Cesar Milan?
Cesar Milan.
Yeah.
Cesar Milan.
Cesar Milan. And he could do the and that will just put down all the problem makers.
At least Larry wouldn't be biting anybody.
People saying it's
and neither would Ace Steel.
You want to do the it's not a storyline thing for our friend here who thinks it's a storyline?
Wait, what did Sean do?
He looks in the camera.
It is not a work.
Thank you. Just wanted to make sure people saw that. Let's get a couple of super chats in. Ours is saying, "Dear Phil Brooks, when people are chanting your name, it was just a shorthand for us to complain about bad WWE booking." I get it.
Yeah.
Someone calling your room.
Yes, but they shouldn't be, so I'm gonna ignore it.
All right, that sounds about right. Ours with another super chat saying, "Tony Khan, allow your talent to unionize, then people can tell Phil how much of a locker room leader they think he is." I don't know if A equals B in this case, but I mean, listen,
he's got to support the union, though, right? He's very pro-union, Phil.
I would love to see actually that longer conversation. I want to see Punk's actual thoughts on a wrestler's union, and of course he'd say, "Yeah, I could run it."
Yeah, he's like, as long as I'm in charge of the union.
That's what I want in my life. And then Chris sends a super chat saying, "If they let Punk go, can Collision last?" I think yes. I think there is a lot of talent there. And also, if Punk goes, guess what? There are other people who are currently on Dynamite who don't cross over to Collision that will suddenly magically be able to cross over to Collision and will be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest rating was when Max was there, right? So, like, Max and Cole showed up, and that was when they popped 700,000. So, I think there's proven other draws that can anchor it.
I like the idea of Punk just being like, "Oh, I'm the show," and then they haul him out and they throw him out, and then they have a big celebration, and suddenly the Elite show up, and they just do a BTE sketch for the next hour and a half.
I think you have to have you pay John Cena all the money you could possibly have.
I'd watch that. I really would.
Right?
Yeah. Manmeet Rana sent us a super chat. Thank you. I don't know if there was a comment with that.
Thank you for the support.
I see. I love Punk, but why would he do that? Well, I mean, we talked about it a bit at the beginning of the show. He just sometimes just cannot let himself stop. Oh, Ryan Lambert saying build Collision around Athena. Let's go. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. The comment below that is quite great too.
Yeah, I would do it. And then Tony G sent us a super chat saying, "If TK pulls a Chicago screw job on Punk and All Out and kicks him to the curb, then he'll have made a statement." Vince McMahon made plenty of statements. I hear that. I feel like we had this discussion after the first Punk incident.
Which fucking time.
And we all said, "Oh yeah," but also no. I don't think Tony's going to do something like that. I also don't think that the legalities that would inevitably come from that are worth it. And I think if you really wanted to make Punk miserable forever and ever, amen, doing something in his hometown, oh, buddy, that would just hurt. That's a hurt that even I wouldn't go far enough to. It's not good.
I don't think like that solves anything with Punk. Like I feel like I don't think you can like be vindictive back at him because I think that just like fuels the fire. I don't know what the solution is, but it's not doing nothing, and it's not like eye for an eye stuff. Like there's a reason that Bryan Danielson is the only one that can get along with literally everybody. And I think it's like there has to be a line of asserting authority and consequence. Like, you have to, if you're going to keep him around, you've got to be able to say, if you do X, Y happens. And you got to be able to do it in a way that doesn't feel like piss and vinegar. Like, because that's where he's at. Like, it doesn't work. Like, you can't be like down in his world. You have to be in an authoritative place. And that just seems to be lacking. Unfortunately.
Hangman did update his Instagram story. He's got a song by Chapel Roan called "My Kink Is Karma," and he tagged it from Greensboro, North Carolina. So,
God bless him.
Oh my goodness! Here we go. Again, this will come and this will pass, and All In will come into perspective in a week, and we'll all be talking about 80,000 plus at Wembley, and it'll be a big, big night, and it'll be a lot of fun. And then we'll talk about Chicago the next week, and I'm sure All In will go off the air with Punk and MJF holding their belts high above their head, making the challenge. Mox is currently having a PWG match against Titus Alexander, so there you go. Everyone's going to move on, and everyone's going to survive, and everyone's going to be fine. I promise.
So, legitimately, if you did remove Punk, Mox is the guy who make the collision anchor. Like, no doubt about it. It can't be Jericho at this stage of things. It would be Mox. Mox is the guy who builds an entire show around. Because there's so many reasons. It
would just be PWG Collision, and I'm all for it.
I'm here for that.
You'll never be able to see it because it won't be on TV for like 6 months after it's taped. But you will eventually see it, and it will be a hot ticket, my friends.
That's right.
Chris asking us in the super chat, do you think Athena gets a match at All In? I have gone back and forth with Jeremy on the idea of having a Ring of Honor title on All In. And then they added the Ring of Honor tag title match. Now, obviously, the answer is yes, there will be. Does Athena get one? Part of me wants it because she deserves it. She probably is having the best reign of all of the champions right now in AEW. And I think that's well-deserved to have that opportunity. But I don't know if I want to see it for a Ring of Honor championship. What about you?
I think 0 Hour, Athena, and either Layla Hirsch or Diamante is a good, or Layla Hirsch or Billy Starks, because they're kind of bringing that back out. It is a good pull. I think we're setting up the 4-pack. You'll probably get Chris and someone else. I have thoughts on who that could be. But I think a 0 Hour match would feel like a good representation of like what the women's AEW swath is right now. She's been too good and undeniable of a champion, I feel like, to leave off the card from what I've been watching. But what I've been watching is also paywalled on a sub-brand. So kind of just depends on how they want to go about it. I would say her and Orange Cassidy have had the 2 most successful title reigns of it, like the AEW umbrella right now. Like really, 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 really strong.
I like the idea of Athena versus Ruby Soho. The Billy and Athena match, to me, that is your final battle match, and that is the end of Athena's reign. That is it. That is where the TV championship switches hands. That is where the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship changes hands. That is where the official like reset of Ring of Honor starts.
I think with the way the Outcast story and the Day One stuff is, I think it's very possible you see Chris and Ruby, because it's running back like they're Owen. Ruby's left out of this 4-pack picture, right? Like there's a really easy story to slide into that I think could be really fun. And the crowd first started to turn on Ruby when she was facing Chris for the Owen. So there's really nice ways to go about it. They might not want to do that yet because I think maybe you want to give Ruby a title in her next title shot. Willow not being on this card feels weird. But you can't run back Athena and Willow again, right? Like that just feels It's like the 5th time to that well, I think. So we'll see. In ROH world, Billy and Layla Hirsch seem to be the two that are kind of like being built in this way.
I see people saying like Billy's young, Billy can't do it. Billy Starks has been at this for a very long time and has the right people around her.
She's impervious. We saw her at Forbidden Door. She was giddy like a child.
She can very much do this and get catapulted from it. It's been a long reign for Athena, and if anyone can take the title from her and run with it and make it a big deal, she is one of those people. They're doing the same thing with Nick Wayne. They're trying to make Nick Wayne into a big deal. They're doing it by having him in and around storylines with Darby Allin, who is one of their biggest stars, and with Sting, who is one of the biggest stars that exists in that company. Sting, by the way, should be the one who keeps the peace in AEW's locker room, but you know, it's Sting.
I thought about that too.
Yeah. So there are a lot of people, but Billy makes sense. And Billy going to college, you know, she can do her classes online, and she only has to be at work on Saturdays because ROH just tapes on Saturday nights. So it's a pretty easy gig if you're going to have it that way and have ROH really be its own entity.
Let me tell you, I think it is awesome that it is a priority for her to continue to pursue her education. If it's between being the ROH champion and putting off college for a semester, guess which one she's going to choose. But you're right in that it's a very workable schedule. Nikki ASH got her master's while being an active WWE member. Like, there's awesome. Yeah. She rules. I love her so much.
She does. We talked about that in our interview back in February. She had submitted her thesis.
She's my interview back in February. You ever going to release my interview that I did?
No, because I still have to release the one that I did too. I got to put those on the back end and tell Sean. Roddy Strong, by the way, also at PWG tonight. So there you go. You'll see it in 6 months, but it's there.
I'll believe you.
Good. Do we want to move on for a few minutes and we'll just talk?
Yes, please, for the love of God.
We don't need to do 2 hours tonight. I can tell we're all fading.
Oh no, I'm just so sick of Phil.
I've been at home for the last week with my kid because he got sick and we had to keep him out of daycare, and so it was just a lot of like handling and taking care of, and it was just a lot. So before we move on, we'll talk a little bit about Bloodline because that was one of the thumbnails we were going to talk about. Ours got saying CM Punk needs wrestling. As someone who has seen his shows and read his comics, wrestling is not all he ever wanted, it's all he could get. I mean, I don't know about the second part. History kind of shows UFC wasn't for him, but he's done pretty good acting stuff. He's done pretty good B-level stuff and heels and so on and so forth. Granted, heels is about wrestling, but what do you think? I don't know. Is Punk only good for wrestling?
No, I don't think. I mean, I don't watch horror movies, so I wasn't able to watch any of that stuff. But one thing that I really like about CM Punk is that he puts his mind to doing something and goes and does it. Like, I think that's awesome. Good for that. More people should do that with less of his ego about things.
Is he wearing the neck brace? Oh my God, Roddy Strong is wrestling with the neck brace on.
He's the best.
And Drew with the
Roddy rules.
Screaming, Adam!
I love Roddy. I love Roddy so much.
Oh man. So yeah, so Jey Uso quit WWE and he's clearly going to AEW, right? So that's what's going on, right?
I think MLW for Jey Uso.
I feel like it was going to be Impact because he's got to go and team up with Jimmy's wife, who is the Knockouts World Champion.
You know what's a bummer is that the G1 is over because he would have slid right in there.
He would have. Could you imagine?
Mike Mizanin and Jey Uso in the finals of
G1J.
The G1.
G1J.
It's the J1. Down since J1.
Oh my God, we just did it. We got it. Y'all could never. So, yeah, there was the All Elite graphic for Jay. I saw. Okay, so a while back, Sean on the post show was like, we're going to start putting more emphasis on our Facebook. And I was like, why? Facebook's awful. And then I started realizing there is a lot of awful shit on wrestling Facebook too. People just making stuff up, people just throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks, people believing it. And I'm like, oh, that's why. I get it. I saw people swearing up and down that Jay's contract is actually up and that it's all in is the last day of his non-compete, because his non-compete's only 3 weeks, I guess, or 2 weeks. I saw some wild stuff. Yeah, we get it. We get it.
He's leaving the most important storyline in wrestling that just pivoted to being about him and his brother to go challenge for the international title. Like, come on, let's get it. Let's calm down. Yeah. Luis in the chat saying it's the J block.
The man could beat Okada. He could make a stable. Him and Bronson
Reed. He talked to Bronson Reed. Yeah, he knows how to beat Okada.
Jay, Bronson Reed, Shinsuke Nakamura. They could all make it. They just call them the Okada Busters.
That's it. That's it.
I'd love to see
TMDJ.
TMDJ.
He's joining.
They'll be like Bullet Club J, but it's instead of Jay White, it's Bullet Club
J-Os?
J-Os. Oh my God. In a serious note though, so you got to talk about it with Stephanie over on the Fightful channel this past.
I did.
I didn't listen because I never listen to post shows anymore that are on Fightful.
Wow. Thanks.
I listen to 2 others and that's it. I don't pay attention to anyone else. But no, that's a lie.
You could just add me next time because I do a lot of our post shows.
That's true. Ricardo said no G1 spoilers. Watching after y'all. Love you. Sorry.
You're in for a treat, brother. Oh my God.
I can't believe Evil won the G1.
I can't believe. Come on. He didn't even make it to the finals.
Jey Uso accidentally called me instead of who he meant to call. He told me he's leaving WWE for real. He's going to open a job.
Please send us. I don't want to talk about the story anymore. Please send us your "Where's Jay actually going" chats. Just super chat or regular ones. Just to let us know where Jay is going.
Just 5 J's.
Just 5 J's.
It's Jey Uso. It's Jay White. He comes back. Who else is there?
Oh my gosh. What other J's?
I know. Jay Briscoe comes into. Oh, I'm sorry.
Jay.
He would have been.
The ghost of Jay Briscoe. I'm in.
Ghost of Jay Briscoe. Absolutely. Who else could have done it? Ring of Jay. Anyway. So yeah, so
Double J. Oh no.
That's right. I'm still all about J-Os.
And he's the 4th and the 5th one because he's Double J. So it's perfect.
That's right. I love that we went from the Enzo is joining New Japan and all of that.
That's why the stables were off the top of my head. That's why they were fresh.
There was some good stuff. Caden sent us a super chat saying Jay is at the That's probably true, actually.
I tweeted last night. I call it House of Borcher because it's boring, and it was so funny. But it was like 4:30 in the morning, so nobody gave a shit. At least that's what I'm telling myself.
Okay, so
House of Borcher is great.
House of Borcher is actually pretty funny.
Really
Okay, so my question to you is, what's next for Jey Uso? When does he come back? What happens next in this Bloodline storyline? Do you think they're going to get to Jimmy and Roman? Is it the 4-way? Is Solo out here? What are we doing?
No, I think Roman's gone until next year.
Really?
Yeah, maybe Survivor Series, but Jey Uso's the next Bachelor. See, there's some good ones over there.
His wife's gonna be pissed.
She is. Jade Cargill. Oh, that's so good. Shit, that's so funny.
We don't even need this show anymore. This is great.
We don't. I don't want to talk about the Bloodline. I just want to talk about all the Jays and just 5 Jays. I don't know. We're probably getting to Jimmy and Jey. Like, I don't know what they're going to do with Survivor Series because they change whether or not they care about it every other year. So, but now we're in this lull where like nothing happens for 2 months. So I don't know. I think you're going to do Jimmy and Jey as what, a 3-month feud from Rumble to Mania? That feels like a really long time to put it off. Jason Thunder Liger.
Oh God, that's awful. I love it.
You guys are awesome.
Hold on. We had some bits from Cyclops. Why is no one talking about the possibility of Jey going to the NWA? I mean, it could happen. Jey versus Tyrus.
Jey gets swashed.
Literally.
Immediately. Yeah. By a frog splash where he just.
Jey Uso versus Dan Barry is in the chat, of course.
Hell yeah, Dan Barry. I got to see him this weekend.
Oh, I like him. He's pretty good.
He's the best.
Yeah, he's a good cop.
He's a great cop.
Great cop. So the Jey and Jimmy match, they want it at WrestleMania. Jey and Jimmy do. They would love to do it at WrestleMania.
Of course they do.
Of course they do. Everyone. This is always my favorite headline. Like, so and so Legends Legacy Act would love to work with so and so up and coming or superstar current act. It's like, yes, everyone wants to hitch their wagon to the hot thing and make money.
Tell me about it. That's why I do so many shows. Everybody just glomming on to my success.
I know the feeling. I can't believe anyone would do that to you like that. The next Saudi show is November 4th, which is a week after Survivor Series. Do you think they'll do the maybe the first Usos match there, or they'll do the 4-way? Because I do think Roman will work one more, if not 2 more times before the end of the year, especially the Saudi show, because Brock's probably not working the next Saudi show if the rumors are true that he's injured too.
This is like your champion is going to work 2 times before the end of the year is like probably your best case scenario.
They got another champion. They got Seth. He's great. People like him.
You mean the Judgment Day side piece?
Yeah, he's so hot right now.
Well, I review SmackDown, not Raw. So, I mean, I review SmackDown for Behind the Paywall. But Saudi would be, I guess, a good place to do it, or at least to like set that up. Like, I don't know. It's actually Jimmy versus Solo, and Jey comes back and costs Jimmy or some shit. I feel like it was a really dumb time to do this. I really do. Because I don't have an answer to your question, and I feel like they don't have an answer to that question. And the reasoning is the best reasoning that they could have given, I feel like. But I just feel like this is the first. There's been stuff that I'm like, that feels. I wouldn't have done it that way stuff. This feels like the first thing that I'm like, that was the wrong idea. Like, that was the wrong call to do this right now. Because I don't know. I get Saudi's probably the next thing that they actually care about, right? So that would make sense. I don't know if you do the first match there or if you set it up to try and get you to Rumble. That's a long time, man. We got a long time.
It's a long time, but they'll do a lot of punting because that's just something that WWE will do to get to the next show. The next big show.
Well, it's the big show.
I can't believe you. Yeah, I'm just looking up ideas, but yeah, I think that we're going to see Jey back in a few weeks. I'm trying to think of what's coming down the pipeline TV wise. I know that Monday Night Football starts soon, but that just doesn't work.
I'm sorry, I'm so distracted by our chat being so funny.
PWJ. Jayla Hirsch is a pretty good one.
Jayla Pearl, well, then we would have someone not defending their title, so that makes sense.
Oh, yeah,
he's taking a vacation.
Yeah, he is. Is it a vacation for being Jey?
Know what I was thinking about?
I don't want to know.
It's usually a safe bet to just opt out of whatever's going on in my brain. I wish I could.
It works well.
I'm so jealous. The whole island of relevancy. I want to go to the island of irrelevancy. Doesn't that sound so much better? Where like nobody gives a shit about anything.
So you think that going to the island of relevancy is a place where people don't care about you?
No. I want to go to the island of irrelevancy.
Oh, got you. Okay, maybe something.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, something on the other side of the world.
I don't think I want that.
Why?
I
Sounds
don't
so
know.
peaceful.
I don't want to be irrelevant, but I also don't want to be relevant.
You just want to be relevant.
Elephant. Call me fat. Call me an elephant.
I'll call you relevant.
Oh, okay.
Relevant.
I love this. Someone was like Jey Uso, and I'm like, give him a show with RJ City and just call it Jey.
It would be more fun if WWE played into things like that. Like if they would take advantage of the open landscape, because it would be really funny to have Jey show up on like a BTE sketch or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it would be so fun if they would play with stuff like that. I do love and appreciate that they put him on the alumni page though. That rules.
Didn't Kevin and Sammy showed up on BTE once in the background? They walked by a shot.
Did they?
Yeah, they did it once. They were in Montreal. This is before AEW.
It was probably before AEW was a thing, yeah.
But it was while Sammy and KO were WWE
contracted.
Yeah. They were just in the background. No one gave a shit. I would do the same with them.
That'd be so funny.
I think if Jey did that, just walked by or just like asked for directions or like shows up, he's wearing a lei and wearing a coconut drink, just be like, what's up?
Him and Rikishi.
Fake tourist. He's at Wembley.
I'm in. These are all better ideas than Jimmy versus Jey.
I don't hate Jimmy versus Jey, but I just think that there's an inevitable 4-way that'll come out. And I don't know if that... I don't think that the Bloodline story needs to be at Survivor Series if they're going to do a War Games match, including Judgment Day, and then do like Seth, Cody, who knows who else.
Yeah, I don't... It would all feel like they're stalling until they get to Rumble season. Like...
And I still feel like it's going to be Solo and Roman at the Rumble.
I mean, I don't hate that.
That's where I'm going. That's where I'd like to see it. Still don't know where the Rumble's going to be, so clearly that's more important.
And then what? Cody wins?
Cody always wins, yeah. Does Cody win the Rumble? I don't think so.
Does he win Elimination Chamber?
I would rather Cody won the Elimination Chamber.
He's going to win Rumble from the one spot. It's going to be so suffocatingly babyface.
But I'm trying to think like who else could win the Royal Rumble? I mean, if it's Gunther, and he will have dropped the Intercontinental Championship. Gunther versus Seth Rollins for the World Championship at WrestleMania. That would work for me.
Yeah, I guess.
You went from like, I hate CM Punk, he's the worst, to being like, yeah, sure, WWE.
I just feel like they blew it so much with Cody already. And then I know you do. I don't understand how a feud about literally nothing with Brock Lesnar is a good use of time, but all right.
He raised the man's hand. He just wanted to fight him, just like high school.
No, he didn't.
He was upset that Cody got top billing when Brock didn't. That was the whole story.
For 4 fucking months.
Yeah. And then it was Cody being like, I will not fight you, Brock Lesnar. I will not fight you unless it's in a car. I will not like you.
I will not fight you on this train. I will not fight you on this plane. I will not fight you till I pass out from pain. I will not fight you.
on this mortal plane.
On this mortal plane. Gunther's an interesting one. Because I feel like there's actually a lot of really fun possibilities for people to take it off him. I don't think it's Chad Gable. I would love for it to be. I feel like Cody to finish that story on the way to finishing his story, that middle step of I slayed the giant for my dad, like legit my dad's title, on the way is good. Or Sheamus coming back into the fold, I think is not a bad call. Like I think you can run that back in a really, really, really good and meaningful way. So I'm intrigued, but then what does Gunther go do is an interesting, because you don't want to lose that momentum. You invested a lot in this guy, and it's working, and he's really good. So what's next? I don't know.
I mean, I think I know who beats Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship.
The Honky Tonk Man?
This guy.
Obviously. Huh? Boy, he sure has not been on television.
What are you talking about? He's everywhere.
Rating.
You just gotta give him a chance. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one.
You want to tell the people where that came from, Joel?
No, I'd rather it just stay between us.
It doesn't make you look bad. It makes Sean look mean.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Sean called me an ogre, and he said I wasn't attractive enough to do interviews, and only Joel was.
Ogres have layers. So, yeah, Luis, I don't know what that was. There was
it was me as Shrek, because Joel edited it because he's mean.
What are you talking about?
But he's only mean because Sean was mean first.
See, I was only piling on.
I was only piling on is not very nice.
I don't know. CM Punk gets away with
you
it.
And you and House of Torture both. Just piling it on. G1 was really good. Did you watch any G1? Or just the Miz stuff?
Just the Miz's stuff. I was so enamored with his story. He almost finished his story.
I know.
No, I didn't get to watch enough of it. Honestly, listen, man, I used to love Tetsuya Naito. I used to think he was so great. I used to be so excited for like his opportunities. When people were like yelling from the rooftops before the G1 started that this is Naito's year, I was like, fuck it is. And I still have that feeling. I just don't. I could not care less.
I think this G1 was really productive in reversing that. I think the injury a couple years ago hurt. Man, Will Ospreay, MVP of the G1 and all of wrestling. He got a good match out of Kenta. He got a great match out of Naito. Just the best work that he could possibly do in every situation he was given. Naito Okada was like special last night. If you are in the chat and haven't watched it, I would encourage you to go back and watch it because one, it was just nice to have the Japanese fans back, like getting unglued because they were on the no cheer list for so long. But this version of Okada versus Naito was extremely interesting. Like this is some of the coolest shit that Okada's done, and he's done a lot of cool shit in his career. So like, it's just they put together a really compelling main event. Because I'm kind of with you. Like I've liked Naito, but I wasn't disinterested, but I felt like it had stalled. And this really put the win back in the sails from like an in-ring perspective for sure. It's not the Miz's run, but what will be. You know, that's something we're going to be talking about for years to come. Keep your Eddie Kingston moments.
Those were good.
This is Michael.
He had a great run. And you know what? Again, nobody went into the G1 being like Eddie Kingston's 100% going to win. But like he made you believe at certain times that yeah, this is not only a spot for him to be in, but like he had so many really cool on and off camera moments that he's just, you can't help but root for that guy. and want him to have that opportunity. And the fact that he's the New Japan Strong Openweight champion is like just that extra icing on the cake, where he gets
and like meeting Kawada and stuff. Like I was in my feels, and I was like glad he didn't move to the quarterfinals, because if he did, I cannot handle another Eddie Kingston almost wins the big one story. Like I didn't want him going into that. So I was kind of glad it ended where he did. And then hearing him on commentary, I was like, oh, I'm so glad they made use of him for the rest of the time he was there. He was in a multi-man match yesterday that was a lot of fun. Way more fun than it should have been. They set up him versus Kawada at StarCast too, which is just like, that's one of the coolest things in wrestling, when wrestlers get to fight their heroes. Like that's just awesome. But yeah, Eddie's run was really special. It was just a healthy tournament. Like Gabe Kidd having a huge breakout run, Anare like killing it, ZSJ like did exactly what he should do. His match with Okada was fantastic. I kind of wanted him to. Okada should be in the final, so it makes sense. But just running back the Naito and ZSJ ridiculousness, I thought would be really fun, because that man wore a suit of chairs a couple of years ago. Oh, there you go, ZSJ, Jey Uso, perfect. But like, just great work on his half, and TMDK had some really fun stories. It feels really productive from Will Ospreay doing the best work in wrestling, arguably. Gabe Kidd and this newly reinfused Bullet Club is great. ZSJ with the TV title, like the changing of the guard is going extremely well. I feel like they are full on star making mode, and seeing that show up in the G1 is really cool. It's really cool to get to see those people like grow into their stuff, because it's a different animal. It's so different than weekly episodic television. It's like you've got this set of days to get over in the ring, and you've got your promos before and after, and that's it. You fly. Like that's
3 weeks off.
Yeah, which is like I love that setup. Like it gives you so many breathers, and then I get to go to it live, so that's what's up.
Yeah, I mean, some people get 3 weeks off, but then you got the big stars like Tanahashi, who's going to go off and have a match against Alex Shelley, and then Sonata's going to be at Impact Emergence in Toronto, and I'm just like, they haven't announced the match, and then Sonata's like, yeah, I'm working hurt, and I'm like, that's not great. But I guess we'll see what they do with him. It's going to be fun. There's a lot of really good wrestling happening, and I'm excited for it.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to go to SmackDown on Friday, maybe. Jay won't be there, though.
Well, no, of course not.
But what if he is?
How is he going to do that when he's showing up at Multiverse the next week?
Right,
the bad. Super J years.
The Super J Cup is coming back. Oh God, I feel like you can't get any better.
We're so funny.
Evil should have won the G1. I'm just saying it.
All right, shut up.
What?
Look, I don't like House of Torture, and I don't like Evil, but there's a very obvious history there with him and Sonata. Like they tagged together.
See?
It makes wrestling sense. I just hate them, and I feel like I just loved Sho and Yo together. So to see them split up so that he could do this is like, this is boring.
Ours has sent us with super chat. If Jey Uso hidden Hamilton, would anybody find him? That's a good question. I don't think anyone would, because Hamilton, very much the worst place in the world.
Wow.
Tell me
why do you hate Ethan Page?
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I've never been to Hamilton, so I can't say anything. But I have been to Florida, and I have questions.
I'm just gonna put it out there. If Hamilton is so great, and everyone's all like, "Oh, talk to Ethan Page," why did he leave?
Well, to pursue his lifelong dream of being a professional wrestler.
Plenty of Canadians still live north of the border with their wrestling contracts.
He wanted the citizenship?
Nobody wants the citizenship. Have you been to the United States? It's awful.
Yeah, I have, unfortunately.
4 more people to get to 100 likes. Let's get to 169 likes, okay? Kate and I think we're tapped out, though.
Nice.
Are we tapping
Yeah,
out?
I don't have a ton more to say, but we can still talk about things.
Chelsea Green's partner, who's going to be?
I want it to be Piper Niven really bad.
I think I want it to be Nia Jax.
You want it to be Piper Niven who's bad at this?
Yes. It's honestly, I love Piper, and you have heard me shout from the rooftops how much I wanted her to be like Trish Stratus's second hand. I wanted her to be that badass heel that takes out Becky. And then we didn't get it. We got Zoe Stark, which has been good. I like it. But with the conversation that's kind of drummed up that like Nia Jax could be coming back to WWE, I'm like, there is no one who would be more obnoxious, but also more like large and dominant next to Chelsea Green than Nia Jax.
No.
And Chelsea playing off of Nia Jax.
Playing off of what?
Playing off of Nia
I'm
Jax.
not like most tag partners.
Like, well, also imagine, look at how upset you are right now at the idea being thrown out there.
I'm upset because I would have to review it.
She would walk in, and night one, she would be a champion again, and everyone would be extremely pissed.
She would walk in and maybe enter somebody again.
We'll see about that. Maybe she's learned her lesson. Probably.
From not being in the ring? Yeah, that's how that works.
Oh, that's how it works. You leave the ring, and you don't injure anybody.
Chelsea's partner? Jey Uso?
I think it should be. Nia Jax.
Jey Uso gives an amazing promo about how we were brothers, and that they were too close. It was too much, and he needs some familial distance, and he finds it in Chelsea Green.
But what if Chelsea becomes the head of the table?
Oh my god, I would be so for that. Chelsea Green head of the table?
I mean, listen, you ask Matt Cardona what he eats when he's on his day off. Just saying.
I don't have the answer to that.
Oh, the answer was exactly what you think it is.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Nia Jax. That's the person.
I think we should end the show.
Really
Once we talk about Matt Cardona, talk about eating. Never mind. I think it's time to go.
Are you insinuating that Matt Cardona has plenty to eat at home? That is such a Toronto. That is such a Toronto line. I'm so done. All right, it's bedtime. Kate, plug away, please.
My Twitter handle's right there, Miss Kate Fabe, and I do a lot of shows on Fightful, and I also do a show at the Mark Order podcast on Wednesday, and we got Mark Order sign on TV on Collision, so that was neat. And it's my 2-year anniversary.
Yes.
We didn't promote that at all. It's my 2 years Fightful anniversary. How about that shit? For 2 years.
How many years?
Crap. 2
years. My God, I brought you back on just for this.
500 plus shows in 2 years.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Man.
I'm very tired, but very happy to be here.
I'm also very tired. And also, I'm at Joel Pearl, so go ahead and leave a thumbs up on the way out and subscribe to us here at Fightful Overbooked. If you got a comment, leave it here, okay? Tell us how much you love us. Tell us.
Yeah. And don't say anything mean.
Don't say anything mean. I'm tired, man. I'm tired of mean people. Be nice. Yeah. Just be nice for once.
If you do leave a mean comment, though, make it about Joel being a peg warmer.
What did you call me?
A peg warmer. A peg warmer.
I'm going to start my own show with another host, and you will not be allowed here.
I'm like okay with that.
No, I gotta keep.
I can't do any more shows. I'm tired.
I'm gonna give you an extra show on top where you host with whoever you want, and that's gonna be on Saturday.
No, come on! I already do 7 shows a week.
No. Listen, Kate, I do a lot here. I can tell you with perfect honesty that nobody pegs me. Okay, wait a minute. I am at Joel Pearl, JOLPARL. Ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary.